Welcome to our program this evening. This is a recital of gratitude for KUUF members, and thanks for all their support during the pandemic and for their flexibility for all of the changes that we've made and have to have made during this very, very interesting time that we've been in. This recital was something that I was hoping to do last year, but we really didn't have the technology to be able to video record and sound record and have the quality be to where it is today. You've probably noticed when you watch the live stream services that we have that we've slowly built up the technology that we've used over the course of the last few months and really try to integrate it as seamlessly as we can into our services. One of the great benefits is as we get better equipment, we have the ability to do things like this. And I hope in the future, in the near future, or at least next year, that we have other programs like this where other artists are able to come in here and perform on their respective instrument and share their gift with all of you. And that's really what this is about. You've given me a gift by hiring me and by welcoming me, and I'm glad to give this gift back, this gift of music, to all of you that are watching today. Our first piece in the program is a piece by Claude Debussy. It's the first movement of a larger piece called The Children's Corner. This one is called Dr. Gratis ad Parnassum. Some of the pieces in this were pieces that they're sort of satirical pieces, and some of them he did for the entertainment of his children. This one, he sort of built it off as it's an exercise, but it really doesn't sound like one. It feels like one, I can tell you that much, but it doesn't sound like one. So this is Dr. Gratis ad Parnassum. Please enjoy. have to remember to tell myself to breathe while I'm playing. We always get a little nervous when we get started. What I learned the most from my recital that I did 2 years ago is don't begin with Bach. So I'm not going to tell you how that experience went, but I'll never, ever start a program with Bach ever again. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you of the people that helped me today in the room here. Brian Watson, who's just out of view over here, is turning pages for me. Tanisha Smith is running video. A lot of the setup was done with the assistance of Robert Smith, her husband. So I'm very thankful to her to being able to run all the video, do all the switches, the really nice transitions that she's done. And Mike Menifee is running the sound, something that I'm very thankful for as well. And I'm glad that he's doing it. And I'm glad that hopefully you're hearing it nice and clear. And I hope that the next one is a little cleaner, a little bit more mistake-free, but just as clean as a recording as the one you just received. So our next piece is by Frédéric Chopin, Nocturne number 15 in F minor. This is one of my favorites and one that you've probably heard in entertainment, old movies, new movies. It's used a lot because it's a very beautiful and evocative melody. It has a lot of sort of mood changes. It's very ominous at times, but ultimately it's just a very beautiful piece, and I'm glad to be able to share it with you. So this one is Nocturne number 15 in F minor by Frédéric Chopin. Thank you. Now we had me and the crew here had discussed whether or not we would have any applause in between the songs, and I said yes, and it was very quiet after the first piece. Now, to be fair, it didn't deserve it. Um, so definitely feel better now that I've gotten this second piece through this second piece, and I've learned to breathe a little better. Um, some plans that we might do for this program in the future is to take smaller pieces and maybe put them up on the YouTube channel as individual pieces. Really, we just want to be able to share this as many different ways that we can. So I'm hope that you enjoyed that one. I definitely did, and we'll be moving on to our next piece, which is by Johann Sebastian Bach. Now, this one was one that I played unsuccessfully when I was 11, 12 years old. Thought I knew how to play Bach, found out years later that I didn't. Sometimes the more you progress as a musician, the more you realize that you have so much more to learn. It can be demoralizing at times because you've put in a lot of work. You feel like you're a better piano player, and then when you revisit something from your past that you remember playing really well and you start to work on it, you're like, I didn't know how to do this. I was playing half of these notes wrong. Did I really think that I was a piano player? And these thoughts come into your mind as you get older, and really you just try to appreciate those arrogant moments of youth where you really saw yourself as the greatest pianist in your school or your county or wherever you were, when in reality I had just as much to learn then. I feel like I have even more to learn now. Growing up can be very humbling in a lot of ways, but especially as a musician. So this one, Bach, something that I promised that I would never play again in a recital because of how much I struggled 2 years ago. Bach finds a way. He snuck in here, and now our third selection is Prelude Number 6 in D minor from the Well-Tempered Clavier, Prelude Number 6 by Johann Sebastian Bach. Thank you. Any Bach that you can walk away from is a good Bach. Um, our next piece is a departure from the other classical pieces that I've played. I did Debussy, who's in the late Romantic period to early contemporary modern period of the 20th century. Chopin, well seated in the Romantic period, Bach in the Baroque period, and now something from the 20th century, but the late 20th century, by David Lanz. You probably heard me play a few of his pieces in our live stream services and also for the recordings that we did for Zoom last year. I used to play them right close to when I started playing the piano. Once I learned what the notes are and how to play with two hands, it was something that was put in front of me. And, you know, it was fun. It was a lot of work for your fingers. And I got to a certain age, 12 years old, 13, and I thought I was too cool for it. And I wanted to play serious music. And I stopped appreciating it for what it was. I thought it was beneath me. And I found out just a year or two ago that I was just really wrong about that. It's beautiful music that a lot of people can enjoy, and music that can reach a lot of people is worthy of being heard. So we've been using some of them from our services, but some of them are a little bit more difficult and a little bit more flashy than what would work during a service, so you don't get to hear those. Tonight we are going to get to hear one of them that I played so long ago. I mean, 1996 or something. I don't know. It was a long time ago that I was playing this piece, and I hadn't looked at it, I hadn't tried it, I hadn't learned it in so long that it was very interesting going back to it and revisiting that part of my childhood as a musician. And this piece, Vesuvius by David Lanz, is our next piece, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Now, while I catch my breath, take a couple of deep breaths and try to get the feeling back into my fingers. We move on to our fifth piece in the program, and that's Chopin again, with a nocturne that I performed in the recital that I played back in 2019. For those of you that didn't see that recital, it was in person back when those things were the norm. We didn't have a video, it wasn't recorded, there's no sound recording of it. We just have our memory of it. And out of all the pieces that I played 10 pieces in that recital, but out of all the pieces that I played, this one, this nocturne, was one that I felt like I wanted to revisit and do again. Not because I wasn't happy with the way that I did it, I just felt like it belonged in a recital program, and it belonged in this one when I started putting all the pieces together and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. 11 drafts later of what I would want to play, I ended up with this one being the one that I didn't want to get rid of, for sure. So Nocturne number 20 in C sharp minor, one that it is suspected was actually composed before the other nocturnes that are in order, so the 1 through 19. Basically the ones that you're used to hearing because people perform them more often. This one wasn't included in that original publication, and I suppose Chopin might have thought it wasn't good enough to be in the original publication. We can't ask him, so we don't know for sure, but if this is a B-side by Chopin, then he's the greatest composer who ever lived. I certainly love it, and I hope you enjoy it. Chopin Nocturne number 20 in C sharp minor. And so we come to our sixth and penultimate piece in the program. And while I speak, I'm just going to adjust a couple of things over here because I hear a strange vibration. So don't mind me if I suddenly disappear. I'll be back. The Intermezzi Opus 117 by Johannes Brahms. Brahms is one of those composers that I'm not as familiar with. I haven't played much of his repertoire. This is one that I worked on in college. I don't remember when I started this one the first time, but I believe I was playing it around 2008, and it was one that I never learned. It's the second movement of a 3-movement piece, and all 3 movements are really different. So instead of trying to learn all 3 of them and perform them together, which I had thought of doing, actually I was considering doing that and doing this piece for my recital 2 years ago. But when I started to learn the 3 movements, I realized that they're so different that I couldn't find the common thread. Maybe I got to work on my music theory, but I couldn't find the common thread between all 3 of them. And they really do stand alone very well. So I chose the one that was, at the time, earlier this year, the most interesting to me, sort of musically and intellectually. The first piece is very slow and very pretty. This piece has a certain darkness to it, but it also has sections of it feels like love to me in the second section of this piece, of this movement. And it does come back to it a little bit, but it ends in a minor key. It's a very interesting one for me, and one that I'm still trying to discover as I learn it. But this is Brahms' Intermezzi Opus 117, Movement 2. And now we come to the end of our program, and I'd like to say a few things before we get to our final piece. One is to reiterate how thankful I am for being here, for being able to play this wonderful piano, for being in this room, this sanctuary. It is a great recording space, it's a great performance space, and it's a great place to gather, which I hope that we can do in the future. I hope that this recital can help make you feel a little bit more connected to this space. I know that many of you haven't been in here in quite some time, not since February of 2020. So being able to see this space in here, even though it's just the corner behind me and the corner over here, I hope it brings you a little closer to this space in here, and I hope you feel like you're involved and that you're welcome and that you are here in spirit, because you really are. And we miss you so much. Those of us that get to be in here every Sunday, we want to see your faces so badly, and we want to gather with you when we can, and we look forward to the time that that happens. All of this equipment that we're using, some of it is borrowed, some of it is KUUF's. It's definitely isn't free. Please, if you feel like it, donate to KUUF, either in the general fund or in the minister's discretionary fund, so we can have programs like this, whether we gather in person or not, so we can make the best use of the technology that we have. And so KUUF has all of the equipment that it needs to give us the best possible services that they can, whether we're in person or not. Because even when we are in person, we're looking forward to trying to record as much of the service as we can and be able to reach out to the people that aren't able to be here, some of the people that have moved away and are on the other side of the country that still want to watch our services. I know some of the people that used to live here and that have moved on, they send in emails because they watch the services here on Sunday morning. So we want to keep reaching out to all those people the best way that we can, and that's with the technology that we're currently using. I'm blown away by the stuff that we're able to do, and I'm sure you've seen over the course of this program some of what we're able to do, and it's really humbling to see what's possible and how far we've come in the last year from where we were. We had the tools in front of us and we used them really well, but just to think of how we're progressing I'm really proud of everything that everyone has done to give us the best services possible and to use the space in the best way possible. I'm so happy to be here. Doing only recordings, being in here by myself in the middle of the week, and not being here on Sunday morning, it was really tough. I know it was tough on all of you, but it very quickly became such an important part of my week and my weekend, and not being here on Sunday, I can guarantee you is as hard for me as it was for you. So I'm so thankful to be able to be here on Sundays, and I'm so thankful to be able to play for you. And I know that you're watching, and I know that you're listening, and I am really thankful for that. So now as we move to our final piece, to my favorite composer, although Chopin's really catching up, but Claude Debussy is one that I fell in love with instantly. It was love at first sight read when I couldn't play his arabesque and thought that I was doing it really well. I said, this is the greatest ever. I never stopped loving Debussy's music. And I'm going to play something that I've never performed before, a piece that I might have overlooked because it wasn't as grandiose or it wasn't as easy. It was in this magical middle zone where it was difficult to learn, but not massively impressive. So I cared about that stuff a lot when I was a teenager, how impressive something sounded. Yeah, I learned a lot since then, I hope. And this piece by Debussy is called Ballade, and that's the one we're going to play for our last piece in the program. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Normally I would get up, but that would ruin the shot, so I have to stay right here. I want to thank everyone who watched today. I want to thank all the members who have stuck with us through the pandemic and really who just have been here through all of it, through before when I was here, who've seen the different changes and who have stuck with us through the changes. We've been through more change probably in the last year and a half than could ever be anticipated, and I feel really good. I feel really good about the future of here in general, but just for all of us. And I'm very optimistic about where we're headed, and I hope that you are as well. And I hope to do programs like this in the future. And I really want to see your faces when I play, and I know that so many of you want to be in here as well. So let's not forget those who are far from us, who couldn't attend even if we did have in-person services. And I hope that we reached out to them today as well. And I hope that all of you enjoyed the program today. Before I say goodbye, I just want to dedicate this recital to our members, Lisa Johnson, Mac Johnson, and their family. I know back in late 2019, you auctioned for a recital program that I was going to play in 2020. We obviously know how that went. I know that this doesn't make up for not being able to play that recital for you in 2020, but hopefully you take it as some consolation of what you weren't able to have last year. And I promise that we will have an in-person recital as soon as it is possible. And if that is 2022, then it will be 2022. It will be as soon as we are able to do it. And we're going to have some technology in the room so we can have people in here, but not have to worry about squeezing 200 people in here. I would really love for as many people as possible to have access, which is another reason why I give all my recitals for free. All 2 of them have been free, because I don't want anybody, especially those of us who don't have as much, to be behind a locked gate that only money can open. And I hope to do another free recital for you soon, either in late May or maybe in the spring, probably in the summertime. It took a long time to learn this music, and I don't think that I mastered any of them. So it'll be in the summertime likely, but I am so excited to start working on it, and I am so excited to see all of you, and I want to thank you for being here today. And without you, I would just be looking into a camera. But I know that you're on the other side watching this program, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you.